Let the detective woman read you these rights, and then we'll kind of just go from there.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer at this time and have a lawyer present with you during questioning. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand the rights that I read to you?
I do. Does that mean that everything I just said does not count anymore because I just never read my rights?
Well, you're not under arrest.
Yeah, you're not under arrest or anything. Basically what you're going to do, if you'll just initial here that I read these to you, and you can reread them if you like, and read the statement right here.
Honestly, I'm like worn out now. That was really I have not thought about that night since it happened. I tried to pretend it didn't. That's why me and Paige went away to his beach house because we were both freaking out.
Read this right here.
We had no idea. We had no idea God was like that.
With those rights in mind, do you want to continue to talk to us? We just need to get all sides of the story. You mentioned something about a lawyer earlier. Do you want to continue to talk to us?
What if I got a lawyer? What would that mean?
Well, that's up to you. That was one of your rights that we read to you. We're just simply trying to get every side of the story that we can, so we can really find out what happened. Because obviously, we're talking to a bunch of different people.
I just told you what happened.
Right. Do you want to? And we probably have more questions for you. And our question is, do you want to continue to talk to us?
And I don't. Cause I feel bad because I don't want to. Pat was supposed to be my friend.
Yes, sir.
You want to talk to us about it, or you want an attorney present with you to talk?
Yes, I would want an attorney present because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing that would. But see, there's nothing wrong to say, but I'm telling the truth. But I don't want to. Is there any way that I could go to jail just by witnessing it? That's what I feel like. I feel like I should have gone. It's not even my fault. It's my fault because I saw it. And I brought it there.
We're going to step out for a second. We'll be right back, okay?
After seeking her father's advice, Paige Vowell decided to invoke her right to an attorney and remain silent. At trial, she continued to try and claim her innocence by stating that she was just an unwilling bystander who had only invited Hoyt over to procure drugs and had no idea that the others planned on killing him. However, the jury disagreed. Paige Vowell was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The 4 men involved in the beating were also sentenced. Patrick Barain, who fired the shot that killed Hoyt, was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Paige Briggs received a 45-year sentence, while Stanley West and David Howard received 30 years each.
Go ahead and pop a new mass barrier here, because you're not gonna get another use till boss. And calm when your thingies end, so I can bop you.
No.
Gripping.
Bro.
I'm back, I think. Yeah. Looking for stun. Sight. Sack.
Image is gone.
That was like.
No
0.5
blood is life.
second.
I mean, this is a timeable
Oh, you
kick.
got spritzed. Okay, okay. that makes
I got
sense.
double spritzed. I don't know what is the normal strat with kicks or what happened, but that was not it.
Did you guys press? Oh, whatever.
Everyone good?
That'll be fun.
Okay, I'm gonna misery.
Yeah, it's a hard skip. What a mental breakdown.
We're good.
Melody. Starting. First kicks. Gripping. Beam. Nice stun and silent. Bounce. All kicks. Final light, final light.
Did there? Okay.
Sleep.
Bang on me.
Go. Mage top. They're almost dead. Just, yeah.
I already used it because before the blinding was gonna, before you even called blinding, casts were gonna go off.
Really?
All
Yeah, I
good.
didn't cast it.
Okay. Going. Pulling.
Grip, and then I'll belt now.
Can't grip him. Why? Oh yeah, because
That's going
I
off on
didn't cast
deals.
it. Yeah, I wasted all my grips because I was gonna die. And I'm gonna
Just
die
kick
here.
it. Kick it. James kick. Me. Team next. Or Ellsworth next. James. High kick.
Let's use the ANZ on the next AoE because we still have
Ellsworth
these
kick.
things up.
James kick. My kick. James. Bombs will be fucked. Yeah, just
Yeah.
play. One's inside. Kick
Good.
it.
James has it. That's good.
Okay.
We're good. Hey, re-kick. Someone help.
Yeah. Why did it stop
Holy
there?
shit.
What was that?
I don't
That
know.
was
It stopped
crazy.
short.
No sense.
Yeah, we're going to the. Should we play here? Yeah, we'll play here. It's fine. To walk early though.
I think it was this little hill. Got like
That's
Z-axis or
annoying.
something.
Alright, Ellsbury Hill first. Ellsbury James first.
Today we're talking about a very little known game setting, a hack that is responsible for how you queue your spells in World of Warcraft. I've played WoW for close to 2 decades and I've only really started to appreciate it in my recent years. This is the least spoken yet probably the most impactful setting called the spell queue window. And there's a lot of untruths, a lot of misunderstanding about how it actually works. And this might be the reason why you're losing DPS or throughput in the game. If you ever feel like in World of Warcraft your rotation or your character feels not as responsive as you like it to be, or if you find your character inputting the wrong ability than you actually intended, then this is the video for you. And by the way, this is not just me speaking. A few top WoW players actually recommend you tweak it. For example, in Hopeful's recent video, whom is one of the best mages in World of Warcraft right now, he actually recommended lowering the spell queue window from the default 400 ms. And we'll talk about that technicality later. I have over 1 million views on WoW related settings video that helps you play WoW better. And I wanted to make this video because spell queue window is a very mysterious thing. Not a lot of people are talking about it. And recently when I am pushing Mythic Plus keys on both Oceanic and North America pings, I'm reminded of the importance of your spell queue window. This will cost you DPS if you don't set it correctly. So before we talk about what is the perfect setting for you, you need to understand what a spell queue window even is. And I made a presentation for this. Yes, I'm that nerdy about World of Warcraft. So what is a spell queue window? Let me explain. To put it simply, World of Warcraft lets you input a spell before the current one finishes casting. This is to account for latency when you're playing an MMORPG. The spell queue window defines how wide the window is, and it's best explained by this visual representation. I want you to imagine a world where spell queue window did not exist. If that's the case, when you press ability A in the game and then you next want to cast ability B can only start being casted after your latency to the server and back to your client. Because remember, World of Warcraft is an online game. The servers are located in various parts of the world depending on which region you play in. So from your home PC to the server side and then back to your client at home, there is a latency where the information needs to be transferred and received. So the fastest theoretical limit of when ability B can be casted after ability A is determined by your latency or your ping. The spell queue window is made to address this, to level the playing field such that if you are on a 100 millisecond ping or a 200 millisecond latency, it doesn't matter. You can both queue ability A immediately into ability B without any gaps in between. You might think, oh, these gaps are not very important, right? It's just like some milliseconds. Well, imagine your ping is 100 milliseconds. In 10 globals, you would have lost close to 1 GCD. And very rough envelope math is like 10% of your output basically. So with a spell queue window, what does this mean? It means that when you press ability A, towards the end of ability A, your spell queue window kicks in. And let me just give you actual numbers. So by default, World of Warcraft spell queue window used to be 200 milliseconds, long time ago. And I remember they changed it to 400 milliseconds. As of today, that's the default. Which means towards the end of ability A, the final 400 milliseconds, your spell queue window is active. And by the way, 1000 milliseconds is 1 second. So this 400 milliseconds of spell queue window, you can think of it as 2 components. First, you must subtract your latency, because again, this is to server and then back to your client. And then the remainder time is then the window for which you can register ability B. So as long as you press ability B in this part of the spell queue window, you will instantly be able to cast ability B after ability A with no gaps in between. So some actual math to give you an example. Spell queue window, 400 milliseconds by default. If your latency is 50 milliseconds, you have 350 milliseconds to input ability B, to spam ability B's keybind, such that during this window, if you register this keybind or register ability B, it will queue instantly into ability B without any gaps in between. And you want that because ideally, your GCD swipes on your action bar should always be swiping. Always be swiping. So let me just unhide my PowerPoint for a bit. And so the ideal scenario is when you're inputting your actions, your GCD, which is implied by my cursor should always be spinning. So every time I use an ability, it should always just spin into the next GCD. If you have a situation where you have a full swipe of your action bar and then there's a stutter and then it swipes again, you are losing DPS. So you might ask, okay, I kind of understand the concept. How do I change the spell queue window? How do I check what is my current setting? Well, over here, I'll put it in the description too. There's a command to check, which is /dump get Siva spell queue window. You copy and paste. This will input basically the output. The number is your current spell queue window in milliseconds. To change this, you type /console spell queue window. If you want to change it to 200, you put 200 over here. You can change it to 300, 400, whatever you want. Now, you might then ask, what is my perfect spell queue window? Then how do I know? Well, before we even get there, we need to address a very common misconception first. Most people think that during the spell queue window, let's say your latency is 50 milliseconds, spell queue window is 400, you have 350 milliseconds of a window to execute ability B. Let's say at the 50 milliseconds mark, you press ability C keybind and you quickly realize, oh no, there's a mistake, and you press ability B keybind at the 200 millisecond mark, the game would still lock in ability B. But a lot of people think that during this spell queue window, the game just registers your first input, which is wrong. People seem to think that, oh, the moment I input that first ability in this spell queue window, it's locked in and my next GCD is that ability. I can't change my mind. And I know that's untrue because I think in Mists of Pandaria they introduced this macro command. It's called /cancel Q spell. So you can actually macro all your abilities if you want, and I actually do that for the more important abilities like mine. For example, if I need to stun the mobs like Chaos Nova, right? My macro goes show tooltip /cancel Q spell /cast Chaos Nova. This basically says when I press this macro, LQ window is 400, you have 350 milliseconds. This will input basically the output. The number is your current spell queue window in milliseconds. To change this, you type /console spell queue window. If you want to change it to 200, you put 200 over here. You can change it to 300, 400, whatever you want. Now, you might then ask, what is my perfect spell queue window? Then how do I know? Well, before we even get there, we need to address a very common misconception first. Most people think that during the spell queue window, let's say your latency is 50 milliseconds, spell queue window is 400, you have 350 milliseconds of a window to execute ability B. Let's say at the 50 milliseconds mark, you press ability C keybind and you quickly realize, oh no, there's a mistake, and you press ability B keybind at the 200 millisecond mark, the game would still lock in ability B. But a lot of people think that during this spell queue window, the game just registers your first input, which is wrong. People seem to think that, oh, the moment I input that first ability in this spell queue window, it's locked in and my next GCD is that ability. I can't change my mind. And I know that's untrue because I think in Mists of Pandaria they introduced this macro command. It's called /cancel Q spell. So you can actually macro all your abilities if you want, and I actually do that for the more important abilities like mine. For example, if I need to stun the mobs like Chaos Nova, right? My macro goes show tooltip /cancel Q spell /cast Chaos Nova. This basically says when I press this macro that is keybound to something, the first thing it does is it clears the spell queue, whatever I've queued up, and then it casts this whatever ability. So we know there's a manual way to actually clear the spell queue window. But from what I understand, even if you don't use the macro, in the window, the game will still take your latest input. The last input that you basically input into the system, into the game, during the spell queue window. However, a lot of people seem to think that it takes the initial press, the first ability, because let's think about it. Something like 300 milliseconds is really quick. It's like a third of a second. For you to input 2 keybinds in the window, quite unlikely. So it's often too late for you to override the early inputs. And so you seem to have this misconception that, oh, it locks in my first ability in the spell queue window. TLDR, if you are very worried, you can just use this macro workaround like I mentioned. I macro all my important abilities to cancel spell queues by using this macro on the bottom right. So why did I take the time to explain to you this misconception? It's really important now because we are now going to deep dive into what is your perfect spell queue window. So to understand that, we need to understand the extremes. What happens when your spell queue window is too low, too short, what happens? Here's a few clues that you have set it too low. You are dropping GCDs, meaning between your GCDs there's a tiny pause. And all these pauses, all these micro stutters, they add up to valuable DPS that you are losing. Like I said earlier in this video, your action bar GCD swipe should always be spinning. Always be spinning. And if it's not always spinning, it's a clue that your spell queue window is too low. Meaning you are not instantly queuing ability B after ability A and you're not queuing them instantly. There's a gap in between. What's the fastest way to verify this other than to visually look at your GCD swipes on your action bar? If you take any Warcraft logs of yours, meaning you have to log your old raid performances, let's say I pick this melee DPS and I look at this 100 passer. Go to timeline, go to cast, and what you're really looking for is between your GCDs whether there's any gap. Basically, in between where you input your actions, it should be a consistent window and gap. Now, obviously, disregard anything that's off the GCD, right? But in between your abilities that consume a GCD, the gap should always be consistent unless you're moving away from a mechanic. If you see very visible gaps in between your inputs, it clearly means that your spell queue window is set too low. Because when ability A is being casted, you know ability B is coming next. But because your spell queue window is so short, the window to apply the queue for ability B's keybind is so tiny, and by the time your hands react and press the keybind, the spell queue window is over already. And so there's a very slight pause between your ability A and ability B. Now again, your perception might be, oh, it's so tiny, doesn't matter. But 100 milliseconds added up over a boss fight of 5 minutes is sizable. Remember, if you do 10 queues of GCDs, and every GCD you're missing 0.1 second, in 10 GCDs you have lost 1 second. Imagine being able to squeeze in so much more GCDs within a long fight. It all adds up. Not to mention, there's a lot of reactive classes like a healer or a tank that sometimes one GCD is the difference between life and death. So again, you can eyeball your action bar, see that it's constantly swiping with absolutely no pauses. If there's a micro starter at all, it means that your Q spell window is too low, or just check Warcraft logs. Now, what if your spell queue window is too high? Some clues is that the wrong spells fire before you can react to procs, or you feel like you always have unintentional ability lock-ins, or your character feels slow to respond to changes in rotation. So this might be a counterintuitive thing to explain. So I'll take a bit of time to explain a bit further, because earlier I talked about how you can overwrite. So it seems a bit counterintuitive that a long spell queue window can lead to ability lock-ins. The most important thing is this to remember. If you're talking about a spell queue window of the default 400 milliseconds, that is still less than half a second. So the game accepts early inputs before you can override with a different ability in the remaining window, because it's like less than half a second, right? Unless you're pressing keybinds that fast. So you have this perception that, oh, I can't seem to override it. Or another way to put this is that you might hit a spell too early before a proc registers or before your brain has fully time to react. That spell then gets locked in and it feels like a mistake to you, even though technically you could have overwritten it, but your fingers are not quick enough to overwrite it. Because again, let's say 400 milliseconds spell queue window, latency 100 milliseconds, you have 300 milliseconds. Say you inputted at 100 milliseconds, you have 200 milliseconds, 2/10 of a second to override and to react to a proc. Is that humanly possible? Pretty unlikely. So you can also think of a high spell queue, too high a spell queue, as the game giving you too much freedom, and therefore you confirm your input too early, too soon. Or in other words, if you place your spell queue window too high, the game is too eager to help you precast and is letting early panic inputs through that you did not really mean to do. A layman analogy that I can think of is this. Say you're scrolling through your phone for a playlist of songs. You find song A and you think you like it, so you hit play. And then a split second later, you find another song that you love even more at the bottom of the playlist. And we call it song C. You click on song C, but at this point, song A would have played for like a split second, 1 second, before the stereo or the speaker switches over to your new song. This is similar to the spell queue window analogy. So it's like Goldilocks. Too short, no good. Too long, no good. So then this begs the question, what the hell is the best and perfect spell queue window settings for you? The answer is both a component of science and a component of feely craft. Let me explain. So average human, even if you spam your keybinds, there should be between the keybind inputs something like a 200 milliseconds kind of window. And if you're not like a keybind spammer, it will be even longer. But let's say on average it's 200 milliseconds. You should add on top of that 200 milliseconds your latency. But 200 milliseconds is like you spamming your keyboard, and I think that's a reasonable assumption. And if you're not the average, we'll talk about it in factor 2. But the point is, if you're using math, a good starting point is 200 milliseconds, which is the average human key press rate, plus latency. So let's say you play on 100 ping, it should be 300 milliseconds, which by the way is what Hopeful recommends in his video. But we talk more about like majors and proc-based stuff later in factor 2. But point is, you can actually calculate by using your average key press rate, and you can do so on various websites on the web. You can kind of just test how fast you keybind and key press, then you just add your latency to that, and that maybe is a good starting point. However, factor 2 is actually more important to me, fiddly craft. This is really important for me personally. So depending on your personal reaction time and your playstyle. On top of that, if you play like different regions like me, with an NA group of friends and an OCE group of friends, your latency is changing, and so you need to adjust your spell queue window for your latency. Then the other thing to consider is what specialization you play. More stable, predictable rotations, things that doesn't fluctuate, things that doesn't react to procs, very stable rotation throughout, you tend to favor a higher spell queue window. A more proc
offer. If he had a heavy trove, we would grab that, or a bountiful trove, or hidden trove, or whatever the heck it's called. And of course, what do we get? We get a two-handed intellect weapon, because we don't already have one, do we? That is incredibly irritating, actually, because I really don't want that. But hey, it's whatever. We do also get a Delver's Bounty, which is amazing. We're going to grab that. I thought I had already utilized that. I could have sworn I've already done that. But hey, I won't argue with it. I think that may have been last week. And Snoogie says, what a great morning. Good luck with the Paladin today, and thanks for the many hours of great entertainment through the weekend. I do believe that is Chua from the stream, and I believe the weekend entertainment Chua is talking about is the mediocre push, which happened this last weekend as I record this. It was 2.5-ish days of me and Danny streaming. It was supposed to be 3 days, but we were done early, so we called it early after some community keys. It was a lot of fun. It was basically Danny and I going from 0 to hero in a single weekend. We probably could have done it in a single day. They were really pushed for it and geared a bit more, but I think it was fun either way. But yes, since we only got a mana-lined slab slicer, we're going to go ahead and just do another delve, which is probably going to be Excavation Site 9. Oh, I forgot to point out, since I've already crafted myself a main hand and offhand, and I still have 3 Sparks of Fortune left, I'm going to be very, very happy no matter how these delves go. I'm just doing it in case I can get something like a headpiece to replace this veteran one, or stuff like that, or like this cloak. But push come to shove, whatever happens, I'm going to craft a cloak to upgrade, probably like a belt or something as well. What I don't want to do is I don't want to craft, what are they called? Tier pieces, or tier 5 pieces. I do already have, no matter what, I have this champion piece, I have this hero piece, and I have this champion piece. So that's 3 pieces. This could be my 4th one, which could be the pantaloons, and then I don't have to tierify the helmet. Is this the best stat distribution? I don't know, but we'll end up seeing what happens. We're really, really hoping for a hero tier helmet. That would be ideal from this Delver's Bounty that I just picked up, but I will take a champion one as well, just as fine. Another delve down, another set of us collecting the gold, then the curios, which there are none of in here, grabbing the left bountiful heavy trunk, the right bountiful heavy trunk, the nemesis strongbox, then the bountiful coffer, and finally the hidden trove, which I'm surprised to get. I think I saw some bracers. Okay, we have a champion and hero bracers from the same thing. That's great. Okay, well, at least the stats are nice. We're going for haste crit, so this is nice. Would have been great to get some pants or a helmet or something. I don't know. But I'll take what I can get. And then since I can't be bothered figuring out where the next delve is, we're going to go ahead and use the Delvobot, which will take us to the next bountiful delve. I think it goes to the nearest one, but I'm not 100% sure on how it works. I don't even know which delve is bountiful, so here we are. Oh, sweet. It's the Spiral Weave. I'm okay with that. That's a pretty nice one. It's pretty quick. Hopefully we get some pants or a helmet. That's what I'm really hoping for. pants and helmet. And this gives us level 70 brand and also lands us in front of some enemies. Hopefully they don't activate. Okay, good. We're good. Let us grab the gold and then we will grab any curios. Are there any curios on here? It doesn't seem like there are any. No mysterious anything. Let us grab the left bountiful heavy trunk, the right bountiful heavy trunk, the nemesis strong box, and then finally the bountiful coffer, which will contain a weapon. Okay, cool. Yeah, at least it's a one-handed weapon. And then there's this oil gouger, which is a dagger, so in case I ever roll a rogue, I can pop that on that rogue. Nice little warbound piece. All right, well, not the best of loot, but we carry on and we leave the delve, so I don't have to actually travel to the entrance like I did in the previous iterations of the delves I've been doing today. What is the final delve that we have? We have the Skittering Breach. So let's go turn in these delve quests that I seem to have from before. Or no, this is Notorious with the Vizier. So that's something, it's like the extra rep thing. So I'll grab that, probably get more pet stuff and like health potions, and then immediately head over to the breach. And so we finished the final delve where we will collect the gold. Then we will look for curios. I don't think there are any according to the map. So we're going to go left bountiful heavy trunk, right bountiful heavy trunk, nemesis strong box, which is here in the back. And then finally we grab the bountiful coffer, which will then contain pants. There we go. All I had to do was do the fourth delve and then I get my pants. That is actually amazing because that lets us, well, it gives us War with an Epic, but it also lets us use this Radiant Emblem of Service to replace our veteran helmet. Now, we have 3 things we can craft. I think I should craft myself a cloak and a ring, and then whatever else feels like the biggest upgrade, which may just be boots. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe a belt. I don't know. Or maybe I just save it so that I can craft something with ruined crests later on. Because I feel like crafting with ruined crests. Actually, I can already craft with ruined crests. So maybe I do that and replace some boots. Excuse me, a little bit of a hiccup there. Replace some boots or a belt. Probably belt, considering my boots have speed, so that just feels like a better thing to replace to keep that speed. Alright, luckily we're also in Hallow Falls, so we can immediately go and use this Radiant Emblem of Service. I'm curious, actually, can I do another one maybe? I'll check if I have the quest available, because maybe I did this last week. I don't remember anymore. I'm getting my wires crossed about what I did when and how much I did and all that stuff. Actually, I don't think it was possible for me to do it last week because it did not exist last week. Never mind. Either way, we have to head over there to replace our helmet. Yeah, there are the daily quests, but there is not much else, and I don't really care about the daily quests. I'm going to go ahead and get myself a handy dandy helmet, which has crit and verse. And a bit more item level, obviously, but it also has the higher upside potential of being a champion piece. Lovely. We slap that on, and now we are 643. That is before any upgrades happened. Okay, well, the event begins, but I have no reason to stay here as I have next to nothing to replace using this event. I'm simply going to head out. Ooh, that's Belidar's Barn. Ooh, let's give that a shot. I would like to. Ooh, that would be a cool mount to get. Let's just quickly go over there. Please don't murder it yet. Please don't let me just get there and then you can murder it. Hold on. Okay, we good. And we kick because apparently people don't know what kicks are. So they just kind of get beamed down. That's interesting. All right, I have gotten my participation in. So I am perfectly fine with this, and no mount. So that's, it was an attempt. There was an attempt. Anyway, okay, hold on. I could just Hearthstone out from here, and then let's go craft a couple of pieces, upgrade as many things as we can with the crests that we have available, and then we'll see what we end up at before we head into our first M+ dungeon, which will be a +2. And here we go. We've crafted everything. We have a cloak, a belt, and a ring. Already have Weathered of the Undermine. That's wonderful. The ring I decided to craft at 658 with the, what are they called? Ruined crest that I had. The rest of it we crafted simply at 645 with just the crest, or rather just the spark, no additional crest. I've bought all of the enchants that I could possibly use, as well as all the gems I could possibly use, and the jeweler settings that I can use to add those gems to my existing items. If you craft a ring or a necklace at rank 5, it will give you a prismatic socket by default. Even if it doesn't have a socket, like for instance our necklace doesn't have a socket, you can still add 2 sockets like this by using the magnificent jeweler settings. It was a bit more convoluted in Dragonflight, but now it's a lot simpler. Here we go. We're gonna put those in our whatchamacallit, in our ring, and we'll put these in our necklace. Beautiful. And we'll put on these enchants as well. Oh man, we are decked out at this point. The best thing is I haven't even upgraded my items yet, so I'm going to get even more item level out of this. Let me just real quick reapply our transmog, vendor the items we don't need anymore, like these these weapons. I don't need these weapons. I will consider keeping this. Honestly, I kind of want this more than I want the Galagio bottle service, because it gives me direct intellect. And I'm definitely going to forget using the Galagio bottle service. I guess I'll give it a few runs before I decide to actually drop that Galagio bottle service. There's also the golden glow sensor that lets me put a mediocre shield on people, but I don't want to worry about that too much. Hold on now. Let's see here. There are a bunch of things we can still upgrade. I'm going to upgrade absolutely everything I can to at least 4 out of 8 champion, and I do believe I have enough resources to get everything to 4 out of 8 champion. I think that'll be wonderful. The reason I'm going specifically for 4 out of 8 champion is because that takes what are these called, carved crests, and carved crests we have a bazillion of. They are genuinely plentiful for me, so everything can be upgraded that requires carved crests. And that is us done with carved crests. We no longer need them, and what that enables us to do is to just buy a crap ton more of these. What are they called? Well, first of all, I can upgrade with the weathered achievement. I can upgrade or trade in 15 or 45 weathered undermine crests for 15 carved crests. So let's do that as much as we can, which is 5 times. There we go. We're going to open up all of those, and then again, since we don't need weathered crests or other carved crests anymore, we're going to buy as many ruined crests as we can, which we are able to buy because we don't need carved crests anymore because we got the carved of the undermine achievement. So let's quickly grab that. I think I can grab 9? Yeah, 405. You have 37 left over. That is a lot of ruined undermine crests. I'm honestly considering just immediately recrafting my cloak and ring. Or sorry, not cloak and cloak and great belt. It's not really a great belt. It's an okay belt. But yes, we have a lot of ruined undermine crests. I'd rather spend them on these crafted pieces than spend them on the other things, because in order to get to the same item level, so let's say I want to upgrade these champion pieces to 8 out of 8. That'll get me to 658, but it'll take 40 ruined undercrest. Never mind. I have the discount, so it works out. But let's say you don't have the discount from your main reaching ruined of the undermine. This would cost 60, and that would make it less efficient, and it would also cost you valor stones. So it would make it less efficient to do this than to spend 45 and upgrade a crafted item from 645 to 658. So keep that little math in mind. If you can upgrade for 40, sure, it's more worth to do this. Otherwise, keep in mind that you can upgrade your thingy things with the stuffy stuff, your crafted pieces, if you have them crafted with just the spark. Should I recraft? You know what? Screw it. Let's go recraft. We're gonna recraft our 2 items. It's less efficient, but I have no other way of upgrading them, and we're gonna have a bazillion rune crests by the end of all this. So let's just go do that. I just realized we will also need Artisan's Acuity, which is a non-issue. You simply grab tailoring or any profession. It doesn't matter. If you have one already, that's great. You'll probably have enough acuity. But if you don't have one, you can grab tailoring, for instance, if you don't care. And you can go over here and grab the quest from Roldira. You have to talk to a crafting order person. Then you talk to Roldira again. Jesus, that's a hell of a name. Turn that in, and you don't even have to take the next one. You get the tailor satchel, because I think it gives you the best gold for the satchel. Unless you really care which materials you get, then you pick which one you want. But I go for this because I just sell all the stuff. And there you go. You have some Artisan's Acuity. Now let me just really quick buy these items that we need. Unfortunately, I can't open this up. If you're crafting and you track it, you can open it up and it'll put a little thing here that you can use to then search for these items. Unfortunately, I can't do that because it's a recraft, so I have to type this in manually, but it's not a big deal. And that's 1 ruined undermine crest, 2 ruined undermine crests. Beautiful. And I think the belt I could just send to myself. Sorry, no, I don't mean to craft it. I need to recraft it. So start recrafting order. I always forget to take the stuff out of the mail. God dang it. Hold on, we got these Valor Stone thingies that we can put down here. There we go. Those are emergency Valor Stones, only for emergencies. We send this to Tabisa, and hopefully Danny can craft us or recraft our cloak. Annie is unfortunately in a dungeon, so we're gonna have to look for somebody else to recraft our cloak real quick. I'll just look for someone to do that for me. I'm gonna go to trade and we're gonna say looking for link this item and recraft. Again, guys, I should, well, not again, but the first time I'm mentioning this, you probably shouldn't craft as much with the ruined quests unless you really want to get a powerful character very, very quickly before you're able to farm anything. And a whole bunch of people whispered me, so I just sent it to just a random person. Doesn't even matter. So yeah, like don't farm. Or even trying to say, I guess what I'm trying to say is that crafting with ruined quests is not necessarily efficient unless you've already earned the ruined achievement, and it's also not efficient as far as gold is concerned. If you're worried at all about gold, do not craft with ruined quests. That is just a bad idea. I luckily had a bit of concentration on my character that has blacksmithing, so I was able to craft myself the belt, and I do believe I'll be getting the cloak crafted for me here in a moment. There we go, there's the belt. May as well delete these mail thingies in my mailbox. Don't need that sitting there. We're waiting on the cloak, and then we'll see what our actual final item level is at the end. Actually, that's not even our final item level. We still have 76 ruined undermine quests that we can spend, which is 7 upgrades for us, actually. Hopefully we have enough Valor Stones. Actually, we have these as well to crack open for Valor Stones, so I think we will have enough Valor Stones. Just waiting on my cloak to be crafted now. Oh, this is exciting. We're going to be decked the hell out. This may just be my most geared character to start a season or to start a challenge off with. I'm excited. Sorry for this hella long intro. I'll make sure I set up chapters for this video so you guys can skip to the dungeon if you don't give a shit about the early gearing, but I'm just excited about this. I love gearing like fresh new characters. For some reason, that brings big joy to me. There we go, our cloak has been crafted. Just need to wait for it to actually show up in the mailbox. Go ahead, come out now. There it is. We're going to equip it, and I don't want to look at my item level until I upgrade things. I think I'll have to look at my upgrade item level when I open up the UI for this. Yeah, 650 already, and I still have upgrades left to do. Well, what I'm going to upgrade is I'm going to upgrade my hero pieces. So my chest piece, for sure. The other hero piece I have is actually a wrist, so I don't think it's worth it. I think I'm better off upgrading my pantaloons, because the pantaloons will give the most intellect per item level upgrade. So I think that's the right call here. We're going to upgrade those pants. There we go. And that brings us to 652 item level before we've even touched M+. So I have 0 rating. I have nothing. I've done nothing. I've done 2 M0s. I've done a normal raid, as you can see from raid encounters defeated. I've done 8 delves, I believe. Maybe, no, not 8 to 10 delves, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's 10 delves. I don't know. I've picked up my renown rewards. So just really, really lucky. Also very lucky because I got this strapped rescue keg. So I'm quite happy about that, because that's a lot of haste, and it even procced leech. So we're very, very lucky to have that. Of course, we got the Circe's circlet as well. Our trinket's not the best, but I don't want to use 2 on-use trinkets. I kind of don't even want to use the Galagio bottle service because I'd rather have the raw intellect than the haste. Even though this can heal a lot, maybe it could, I don't know, guys. What I'm worried about is that I'm going to just straight up forget that I have this trinket. Well, I won't forget as much if I have a weak aura for it. So let's just make a quick weak aura for it. We're going to call the weak aura poppin' bottles in the ice. Actually, I need to add to this, like a blizzard. This is a reference to Aralith's apparently favorite song when playing his priest, because he has the same trinket and he loves using it, and he always at least says popping bottles in the ice. Danny's yelling from the other of the room, like a blizzard. She knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so we only want to load this when we actually have the item equipped. Let us quickly just check what the actual item ID is. 230188 is the item ID. I'm going to paste that in here. That'll say Galagio bottle service. Beautiful. We're going to go over to trigger, make sure that we have it on item. We can paste in the Galagio bottle service item ID again. Does it require the global cooldown? It does require a global cooldown. So we're going to show GCD, and we should only show it, well, we should actually show it always. It doesn't really matter. Then conditions, if on cooldown true, color should be like grayish or something, and the alpha should be 60. There we go. That's all I really need. Don't need anything else. Now we need to make it so it's not in the center of the screen. That would be nice, I guess. And it also probably doesn't need to be that size. Let's make it 33 by 33. We're going to anchor it to the mana, which means I need to actually show Holy Paladin. Hold on one moment. There we go. Now I need this to be minus 35, I think, or minus 37, I think, so that we have 2 extra pixels. There we go. It's going to be right there under everything else. I think that's perfectly fair. Again, this only loads when you have the item equipped, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. I'm not going to put it inside of my Paladin Weekaras, even though it is anchored to the mana for Paladin. I'm just going to make it ignore whether the actual Paladin Weekara is loaded or not. We're just going to leave it like that. Ideally, I would have it... Who cares? Nobody else is going to get this. This is my Weekara. Nobody else gets this. I'm not sharing it. It's mine. You can't have it. Anyway, let's use it here real quick to see that it's tracking the cooldown as we expect it to. Beautiful big heals on this imp. This imp got the heal of a lifetime, man. He popped bottles in the ice like a blizzard right there. Friends, I think it is time for us to actually go and do, what is this, the Rookery? I feel like I could just join somebody's key. Maybe I should join somebody's key and do something like difficult. What's a difficult dungeon to heal? Well, I guess on +2 with 652 item level, not many dungeons are difficult to heal, so maybe I could just go into anything. The first pull of Cinderu Meadery might be interesting, or the first pull of Theater of Pain. I don't know. When in doubt, we are going to go ahead and use the random name selector thing. Oh wow, I haven't used this in a while because we have Azure Vault, Brackenhide Hollow, Algathar Academy, and Halls of Infusion on it. So it's been a moment since I've opened this up. We have all of the 8 dungeons. Let us see what the Wheel of Names tells us to do. Why is Rookery so large compared to the rest of them? I do not understand. But it looks like we're doing a motherload, so let's see how that works out. Maybe it doesn't work out because I'm just not being invited. Very interesting. Very interesting. Oh, there we go. We've finally been invited to this mage's to this mage's motherload. All right, here we go with our first key, or first M+ dungeon on the Holy Paladin. The group we have is in the bottom right corner of the screen, as you can see. I put my... Oh, okay, hold on. I got this. I haven't healed on this character. I haven't played this character properly in a while. I mean, in a while. I did the delves, but, you know, delves, who cares? So, what do I need to do? I need to make sure that people don't die. That's what I need to do. I'm going to be using my cooldowns liberally here. That's one thing I need to learn on every healer, is that I need to just press the cooldowns as often as possible. Obviously, don't press them when there's no damage happening, but you know what I mean. So, I put up my beacons on 2 people that I think will need it the most healing, which is going to be the Balanced Druid most likely, because he's the squishiest of the group, and also he's ranged, so I want to make sure I have something on the range. And of course, the tank. The tank is going to need some healing as well. You can see that from these indicators that I have next to the unit frames. Another thing I need to do all the time is make sure that I actually use my Holy Prism, because the Holy Prism, oh, of course it's me stunned. Somebody will interrupt that eventually. Either that or it will simply be done casting and then I can move on with my life. I think that might be a body pull. That does look like a body pull. Tank is reacting to it though. We're going to go ahead and stun that so it does not reach our friend and punch them in the face. We don't want that. We're just going to go ahead and use Divine Toll. I don't really need it for anything. Kicks do go out. I'm going to... Okay, a beam comes down from her. Holy shit, buddy. You gotta be more careful than that. Hopefully that gets interrupted. I love being frozen like that. That's super fun and entertaining. Said no one, ever. Okay. I keep getting CC'd, although I do have a kick of my own, so I should be taking care of that. I'm not a priest. I can take care of it myself. I think it may have been on cooldown there, or I may have just been staring at health bars. Anyway, moving on. So far, so good. Very happy with the pulls that we're getting so far. We're going to try and keep our consecration down at all times. Make sure that we keep our tank alive at all times as well. We're going to beam them. We're going to hit them with a nice dawn light. We're going to go ahead and interrupt the assassin. Only interrupt we have available here. We're going to use Divine Toll. Try and get a bunch of healing onto our friend the mage, because he was taking damage from something. I don't even know what. Maybe he had aggro for a second there. Not 100% sure. Currently a little confused as to what our unholy DK friend is doing, considering his damage is next to non-existent compared to the rest of our friends here, but I think that's fine. It's a +2. People are definitely still learning, myself included, although I do believe I'm doing quite well in keeping people alive for now. Then again, the amount of damage being taken is not exactly overwhelming. Now here might be a good time to use my wings, because everyone will be taking damage. I think I'm just going to go ahead and hold wings, maybe? I don't know. Let's use Divine Toll. Screw it. Divine Toll is a lower cooldown. Still feels amazing to use. Keeps everyone nice and safe. There we go. Looks like our tank wants to skip this pack of mobs down here, as well as that other peacekeeper. Our friend falls down. I think nobody else is in combat. We decide to try and rescue our friend. I should have maybe healed them or bopped them. I'm not sure. But hey, it's no big deal. There's only one cast here, so I interrupted it. We also got a beam. I'm
Kick.
gonna run away from everyone to make sure nobody gets hit by that because it was on me. If I reacted a little bit fast, okay, so my thought process was there. I'm gonna let them die and we're gonna get out of combat, like nobody's gonna be in combat because it's only them that pulled them, and then I'll res them, and that's the minimum time loss. Here, I guess we're getting percent, and hopefully the tank adjusts the route and we can skip stuff later. Or something that I've noticed, or something that I've done myself, is sometimes I just run the route no matter what. I hold W, and then after the last boss, I just give whatever percent I'm missing. Mother load can be very confusing sometimes. There's plenty of opportunities for extra pulls. There's plenty of ways to underpull. Good call by the tank to sit here and wait because this guy was just about to head back. Guys, is there any mount you can think of that matches the Paladin tier set from Tomb of Sargeras on Mythic? So I need a bit of gold, I need a bit of purple. If you guys can think of a mount that matches that, please do let me know, because your boy don't know any that look like that. I looked through all of my mounts and I couldn't find a single thing that actually matched that color scheme. So again, if you guys know any, please do let me know. You know, it's an exciting run when I'm asking for mount suggestions in the middle of it. But honestly, I'll take it. A nice chill key to start with on the Holy Paladin, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm gonna look for the kick on the vendor because I think I can heal the assassin if he gets his poison off. I can also stun him once he starts spinning to minimize the amount of poison going out. That does get kicked by the tank. I'm going to kick the vendor and we're good to go. No more kicks necessary for a while. We're gonna stun that spin because it does do quite a bit of damage. Let's pop some wings here. Screw it. This is a good time to pop wings, methinks. I should maybe try to position a little bit better. That way I can get more people to be affected by Dawnlight that I get from wings, because I think it puts it up on 4 allies and I only saw it on 3 people, and I think it was because people were out of range. Now somebody might be able to correct me on that, somebody with more experience as a Holy Paladin, but for now I'm just going to assume that was why, and I'm going to try and move closer to my range in the future when it's necessary. Now as a healer I have many duties. One of them is doing the mechanics that nobody else wants to do, so we're going to go ahead and do so.